I'm Megan. Thanks for joining me on my channel. Today I'm offering a somatic shorts video, which means you get just one movement, and this one is a rotation for the upper torso, head and neck. So it's a great way to find mobility and free any gripper muscles, any discomfort in the neck and shoulders. So join me, we'll be doing a side lying pose. So blanket is nice for some extra padding, or if you have a carpeted floor, that's great. And you may want a pillow or a couple of blankets. So I'm going to start by going down onto my right side. If you find when you get onto your right side that your head's not comfortable falling on the ground, then position your head so that it's in a neutral space, meaning both sides of the neck are the same length, by putting something underneath it. Just watch so you're not lifting the head too high. You want to keep both sides of the neck long. So that's an option. The other thing is if your knees, we're going to bring the knees up so that the thigh bones are 90 degrees from the spine and the shin bones are parallel to the spine or parallel to the edge of your blanket or mat. If you find your knees want a little extra padding, your hips would be happier with something between the knees, go ahead and do that one. So I'm going to use that and not necessarily the head. The other thing is to look at that bottom shoulder. As opposed to being on the outer shoulder here, just sort of bring that right arm forward so that you're more on the shoulder blade. The weight is resting on the shoulder blade. Just take a moment to rock your body back and forth. Think of the weight of your skull and let yourself roll onto the forehead and then towards the back of the head. Just gently rolling, so we're making tiny little rotations. And as you're doing this, think of just letting your left arm go completely limp. So it can be falling in front of you as mine is, or you can lay it on the left side of your body, but finding a place where the left arm is supported. Now finding your breath. If you want to do this movement to the breath, we'll be rotating on the inhalation. So next time you take an inhalation, you can even breathe into your left lung. Maybe place your hand there and locate your left lung. And as you feel that breath come into your left lung, roll your left shoulder blade to the floor behind you, just as far as you can go comfortably, and let your head follow. As you breathe out, slowly roll back. So I'm thinking of initiating the rotation from my left shoulder blade, like I want to touch it to the floor without forcing it. My arm is still relaxed, and letting my head or my gaze follow, letting the skull roll, and exhaling, coming all the way back. Just doing a few of these first to feel. So when you go into the rotation, you might feel tightness anywhere in that left side body. So it could be under the armpit or in the shoulder or the neck. You might feel it all the way down in the hip and the waist. Just slowly rolling through. If it feels like your shoulder blade's close to the ground, then you can let that left arm drop. And then coming back, keep that left arm relaxed. So I'm not lifting it or straining it, and let it slide forward again. It's a nice, easy back and forth. Noticing how your body can rotate really slowly. You can pause when you're in the rotation. And coming back. So if this first version feels okay, then the next step we do to get a little more stretch through the muscles around the collarbones, the pectoral muscles, is we can take the left hand to the base of the skull. Now, as you breathe out, you're letting the elbow fall to the floor in front of you. As you breathe in, send the breath into your left lung. And again, roll your left shoulder blade to the ground, but also take the elbow and arm towards the ground. So again, you might sense more of a stretching right underneath the left armpit and right through the front of the chest, which these can be bugger muscles. They can be tight. And exhale, come back. So if it's too much for your arm or shoulder to have the hand at the base of the skull, then remember to just let the arm slide along. So we can go to that second position if it's comfortable. Inhaling into the rotation, maybe take a few breaths into left lung. Feel how expansive your left side is. And exhale back. Relax, like you're folding yourself up into a little fetal curl. Inhale and open, lengthen the left side all the way through the chest. And exhale and close. So we started this movement initiating the movement from the shoulder blade, and we let the gaze and the head follow, which you can continue to do. Or another way to play with it is try to initiate the movement from your skull. So instead of shoulder blade, I might even drop the arm down, go back to that first arm position, let my head start to roll, and then let the shoulder follow the head. And when I come out of it, roll my skull back first, let my shoulder follow my head. So just different ways to make the same motion, but your brain is going to map them differently depending on if you lead from the head and the neck or the shoulder girdle. And you can play with both. You might do that second hand position and lead from the head. And it's a very finite difference, but it is a difference for your brain, for your nervous system. Mostly just make it feel good, create that space through your left side. And then maybe even want to pause. Take a few breaths into your left side. Sometimes I'll take my right hand and very gently hold the left hip and press it forward towards my feet, just creating more length through that lower left waist. And continue to send all your breath into your left lung. Feel the movement of the muscles between your ribs as you breathe in and out. Keep relaxing the weight of the left arm and the shoulder blade. See if you can just, without pushing it, let each exhalation take the shoulder blade closer to the ground. And when you're ready, you can slowly roll out, back onto the right side. And pause for a moment. Come onto your back before we do the second side. And I am going to take my back side, my business end to you, so you can see what it looks like from both sides, this somatic upper body twist. But as we pause, come onto your back side and find some position where your body feels symmetrical. And just allow yourself to feel the two sides of your body, always taking that magical moment. Does one hip or waist feel longer, shorter, heavier, lighter? Notice the shoulders, the fronts of the shoulders or the arms, even the head and neck. So we compare not in a judgmental way, but in a way that the brain learns. So not to say better or worse or good or bad, but simply noticing differences in the two sides of the body. And then we'll get ready to do the second side. So you'll be rolling onto your left side. Option to keep that pillow or blanket underneath your head, your left ear this time, and also something between the knees if that feels better for your hips. Bring your thigh bones 90 degrees from the spine and your shins parallel to the spine. And start again by just gently rolling the head. So we want to be sure that we're not lifting the head or straining the neck muscles. You want to feel the way that the weight of the head, think all 12 pounds, supported by the ground, and just rolling through the skull towards your right ear, and then rolling back through the skull towards your left ear, maybe even all the way onto the forehead. Just letting the head and neck roll without any strain. A tiny little spiral just to warm up. And then we'll begin to move from the shoulders. So sense the right shoulder blade and maybe the collarbone. You can even touch them if you want, those bony landmarks. And as you breathe in, send your breath into your right lung. Notice what it feels like to rise up, fill your right lung. And as you're doing that on the inhalation, roll the right shoulder blade towards the ground behind you without forcing it. And as you breathe out, roll back. Try to lead from your shoulder, your upper torso, and let the head, the skull just follow along. And your arm is relaxed. It's like dead weight. You can keep it in front of you, or some people like to keep it on their body if that feels better. Keep it on that right side. Watching that we're not straining the muscles in the arm and truly making this a torso rotation. Enjoying the way the breath can help to start the motion, to create space by breathing into your right lung. And back and forth. That's the first hand position. If that feels okay and you want to go deeper into stretching and opening these pectoral regions, which generally can be an area of gripper muscles, especially if you sit all day and your shoulders are rounded. So go in slowly, but you can take the second hand position where your hand is resting somewhere at the base of the skull. As you breathe out, drop your elbow towards the front of your face and let yourself roll onto the forehead. As you breathe in, you're still taking the right shoulder blade towards the ground, but also work the elbow and the arm towards the ground. And breathe out and come back. Just a very slow, easeful spiral. Sense how your breath helps to lift and create space for the rotation through the right side. And if it's anything like my body, you might feel more tightness in one side, in the shoulder, in the hip. So there's sometimes one side you feel it all in the hip, and the other side it's in the shoulder, the neck. And you're just noticing those differences. Pausing anywhere you want, letting the arms and the legs relax. And then we can also do this roll to the right, starting from the head, maybe taking that first arm position, let your head roll. Roll on your skull, and imagine you're turning to look at something and let your torso follow your head. And then when you come out, head goes first, rolling onto the left ear, all the way towards the forehead, and just dropping the right shoulder towards the ground. Feel the weight of your skull. It's fully supported by the ground. And you're just rolling your head, letting your shoulder follow. You can continue to lead from the head. Take that second hand position. Head going first, then letting the shoulder blade follow, and the arm just sort of falls as the head goes. Subtle differences, but something you can try as you progress through this spiral. Letting your brain feel the difference between moving from your upper torso versus your head or your skull or even your nose. What does it feel like to move from your nose? And then rolling into this last one. This might be a good space to pause. So if you're up here and your arm isn't resting on the ground, then my recommendation in the hold is place your hand under rib cage. So we want that support. Otherwise you're straining the front of the shoulder here if the elbow's not on the ground. The other option would be to take a blanket or a bolster, if you like, just hanging out in that end position, and see if I can get it there, and put that underneath the elbow. So you could put something under the elbow to support it, or simply just take your hand to your rib cage. That's a nice reminder too, to be breathing into your right lung. Feel the way those intercostal muscles between your ribs just slide on one another back and forth. Option to take your left hand right to the top of the right hip and gently coax it towards your toes to create more length through the right lower waist and the hip area. See where your head wants to land. One more round of breath in and out, and then slide your hand back. Slowly roll back onto your side. You can pause there on your side as long as you'd like. But being that this is a somatic shorts, I'm going to finish things up and say thank you, and I really hope that you enjoyed rotating your torso and learning to move the shoulders and the neck independently, leading from the shoulders, leading from the head. It really gives us a lot more freedom in the upper body. Remember to subscribe to my channel so you get all of my content updated. And thank you to my Patreons for keeping this channel going, and you'll get a PDF document with this movement, this somatic upper body rotation. So if you want to sponsor me on Patreon, that will be yours. Peace, joy, love, and light.